Nuestra Familia and Norteño Nation. My name is Dan Quinn, and Richard BamBam Duran, rest in peace, already got my back at the branch many years ago when there was a potential conflagration between the blacks and myself, because I had told a brother if he didn't stop playing dominoes when I was sleeping during the day in Purple Dorm, I was gonna fuck him up. And he left, and instead of putting his tail between his legs and taking it like a man or doing something, he turned it into a racial thing. And I had grumpy Norteño come up to me and say, hey, Richard Duran says you're cool as fuck. So know this, if anything goes down with the beeps, the niggas, we got your back. So that was as far as prison politics and jailhouse politics go, a major feather in my cap to actually have the North get my back in case it went down with the blacks. And a little side note, there was a time I was in Home Depot and I heard, honey, 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 this is the guy, this is the guy. And I turn around and this dude is pointing at me, and it seems he was in Red Dorm when I shut the blacks down. Yeah, it went down like this. I was shaving, and Babe Rob, who had a voice that could be on America's Got Talent, he was the head houseman, he was a brother, and he came into the bathroom and he saw newbies standing in the doorway about to get our program fucked off by the cops. And so he, you know, to them. And then he turned my way and went, you know. And I said, are you talking to me? And he said, yeah. And I walked up and I said, say it again and I'm going to fuck you up, punk. And actually I said, say it again, I'm going to plant you in the ground. And that's not racial.
Daniel, this is 10:30. Please.
It's also a Friday night. I'm actually an adult. Yada, yada, yada. Anyways, and so instead of manning up and doing anything, Bay Rob left, and I went to my bunk, and all the brothers that were sitting at the table started mumbling and grumbling and saying what they could do and would do, you know. And finally I had enough. I was reading my book, and they were fucking with my serenity. And I stood up and I walked in front of their table and I took my shirt off and I said, no, actually I stood up, took my shirt off and walked in front of their table. And I said, if anybody has a problem with me, then step the fuck up and let's handle it. And no one did. And I said, good, now be quiet, I'm trying to read my book. And I went back and I laid down, and the dynamics of how things were run changed when Dan Quinn was there. Which happens quite a bit because my entire life I've been a celebrity, football foremost, a superstar. I would have been in the NFL, gentlemen, if it wasn't for Lou Holtz firing me for making the greatest stop in the history of Notre Dame football. You guys that are watching this, search for Dan Quinn's Notre Dame play on YouTube and see me as an outside linebacker catch a tailback diving for a touchdown on 4th and inches on the goal line. And instead of the announcers saying my name, they didn't say a thing. They didn't rewind. They didn't slow motion replay. I didn't know that at the time. But when I hit the sidelines, I was immediately fired by Lou Holtz, who was shaving points and trying to throw the game. And I immediately quit football for boxing because of my connections to the criminal underworld. Even at that point in time, were so deep that I could have had coaches killed. And if I had stayed in football and actually had the money to make things happen, Lou Holtz wouldn't be here. I guarantee you that, along with many others that I ran across that were monsters. Look up Jerry Sandusky, Penn State, raping kids directly. Many coaches raping kids indirectly, fucking them over, stealing their futures, acting like little monsters because they have power. Power goes to some people's head and they can't handle it. Anyways, to those Norteños and hopefully Nuestra Familia members that are still watching, my number is 760-809-1744, and I'm looking for somebody dying, terminally ill of cancer, no hope. They've given up any hope of a cure, and they're just making final preparations. And what I want to do is get them on a pound of stevia a month, and also have them start drinking what I call pure H2O. Put a half teaspoon of stevia in a third blender full of water, blend. You're going to see to some of the chemists in your organization, they're going to see water explode into a gas inside the blender. That's what happens. Water triples in size. It turns into this white soup. Water's gone. There's no more water. To get water back, you have to turn the blender off, and you'll see it shimmering as hydrogens fall down out of an excited state back into water. It'll slowly start to build, and it comes up and up and up, and it'll slowly stop underneath a huge layer of what looks like soap. It's toxic sludge. It's all the warning, danger, caution, toxic, will kill you chemicals that we pour down the sink and the drain each day, and it's making people sick. It's killing this planet. And Dan Quinn, friend of the North, figured it out. That's why I would like the North's help in finding somebody dying of cancer, find somebody dying of diabetes as well, and they can get on stevia alone, and stevia will cure their diabetes. Stevia alone won't bring them back from being terminally ill. Getting all that toxic sludge out of water before you drink it will bring them back into perfect health. I stake my life on it. And just so you can see my other videos. For what I look like, but I'm not in hiding. What I'm looking for is, like I said, somebody that's dying of cancer, and I want to cure them. I think that the North, Nuestra Familia, or Norteños, you guys are all one and the same now. Is that right? Different levels. The bosses and the soldiers. that would be a story that would be worthy of Joe Rogan and people in his neck of the woods paying attention and getting it famous to where I'm going to become the richest man on the planet, gentlemen. I had a vision when I was at Notre Dame in 1988, I believe, is when it happened. I was in